I would like to begin by thanking the organizers of this wonderful series for inviting me to be here with you in community this evening for what will certainly be a necessary and informative workshop with Dr. Eddie. You know currently that we are in the middle of unprecedented times as a nation. As a poet and as Poet Laureate in particular, I feel a certain responsibility to utilize language as a tool for social dialogue and a weapon for liberation and social change. Our nation is watching as a global pandemic and civil unrest are converging in monumental ways. There are some uncomfortable truths that we are collectively unpacking. We're seeing a reckoning and a fallout with a nation that has refused to come to terms with its past, right? So it's no time to be indifferent. It's no time to be a passive bystander. It's no time to not act. We're in a fight for our lives, for our communities, for equality, for our health, for our humanity. We're in a fight for all of the sugar-coated ideals that this nation avows but religiously falls short of manifesting. So I have an ambitious set list for my 15 minutes with you all this evening, so I'm going to hop into some poems. You know, the pandemic has taught us so much about our world, about ourselves, and reconfirmed a lot about what we already knew, right? In poets, we always attempt to encompass through language the human experience. This first poem was the first that I wrote when I began working from home. I started to think about this virus and who it was going to impact most, how the most vulnerable among us would be disproportionately impacted, and how the most vulnerable among us are always the most at risk. This is COVID-19. The sirens are sounding, the screams are loud, the virus has packed its bags, world traveler without a passport, borders are man-made, walls cannot contain life on the move, but that's another story. Asian businesses were empty before streets, racism, the toilet paper is gone, panic begets panic. My 3 p.m. meeting is now a Zoom conference. Tom Hanks is raising his hand. Let's talk about the poor. 30 million uninsured, ends meet public transportation to get there. Self-quarantine, privilege, paradox. Blue collars can't work remotely. Hourly wages, side-eye the salaried. Go ahead and cancel school. Childcare is a killer too. Industrialized without a heart, developed without a conscience. Capitalism gaslights, blames our bodies instead of broken systems. Wash your hands, cough into your sleeve. Plutocracy lampooning universal health care. Call on your God or whatever. Just don't touch your face when you make the sign of the cross. You know, the conversation of essential workers was one that we had and are continuing to have. And Latinos, we make up 18% of the United States population, but almost 40% of the essential workforce, right? So these next two poems are dedicated to our migrant and immigrant relatives. This poem is called Instructions for Those Who Fear Immigrants and Refugees. Start by climbing your family tree. Traverse the beautiful branches, passing your parents and familiar relatives until you arrive at your ancestors. Take a moment to recognize your eyes in theirs. Smile, embrace them, talk to them. Do not be alarmed that they speak a language different from yours. Teach your tongue, the linguistic amnesiac, their idiom. It used to be yours too. Share a traditional meal with them. Maybe one lost to assimilation in the melting pot. When they pass the bread, take notice of the calluses on their hands, the way their tattered clothing seems to drape from their bones. As your foremother clears the table and your forefather moves to sit in his favorite chair, ask them how it felt crossing an ocean to reach the land of opportunity. Now descend from your family tree, and in your best broken Spanish, ask the same questions to the earth-colored man who cooks at your favorite restaurant. Ask the woman who cleans toilets in your office building. Ask the child crying in a cage. Ask them how it felt being forced to leave home to reach the land of opportunity. Chances are, their stories will sound exactly like the ones that are running through your veins. And about a year ago, you might recall that there was a very graphic photo that circulated around the internet of a migrant man and his daughter who drowned attempting to cross the Rio. I wrote the next poem for them and for everyone else that has met that unfortunate fate. It's important for me and us to remember them and so many that have expired trying to simply survive. So this is for Oscar Alberto and Angie Valeria Martinez. I imagine her 2-year-old heart was small, maybe the size of an unripe fruit, something green, something growing toward promise, something not quite ready to be consumed. I imagine his heart was big, maybe the size of better tomorrows, something peaceful, something imaginary, something that could not wait. I cannot tell you why the river was hungry, why desperation continues to find itself stuck between the river's teeth, but dreams are boats that will not sink with bodies, humanity a buoy that floats where breath succumbs. There along the water's bank, belly down among the reeds, brown bodies expired like yesterday, like tomorrow. I am convinced this country likes it that way. There it is easier to wash the blood dripping undeniably from its hands. The next two poems are part of a series that I'm writing called Numbers for Days. They're poems in parts about social issues. You know, I write poems about sunsets and flowers and those things too, but right now we are in a moment where we really have to discuss these issues in an honest way, and poetry is one way to do that. This first poem I watched after the incident in Central Park unfold between the white woman with her dog off leash and a black bird watcher who was simply asking her to follow the rules, right? You all know what transpired then, and if not, check out the news around that. It was a very alarming incident. This poem is called Karen Has a Gun. 1. Karen has a gun. The gun was given to her as a gift. Karen accepted the gift with a smile, the same smile her parents and grandparents wore. After all, the gun is an heirloom. Karen takes pride in what she's inherited. 2 weeks after I bought my first home, Karen, walking a beagle or something, interrupted me as I was looking for something in my car. My car was parked in my driveway, the driveway in front of my home. Drawing her gun, she asked, "Excuse me, what are you doing in that car? I see you. I'll call the police and they'll be here faster than you can run." 3. Karen knows how to shoot. She doesn't fear the recoil. Karen doesn't always use the gun, but she's been trained how. Karen knows what a target looks like and how to load a magazine. Round 1, "Can you please stop? I am a white woman." Round 2, "Sir, I'm asking you to stop. I am a white woman." Round 3, "I'm taking a picture and calling the cops. I am a white woman." Round 4, "I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life. I'm a white woman." Round 5, "He is threatening me and my dog. I am a white woman." Round 6, "Please send the cops immediately. I am a white woman." 4, Karen was studious. She learned her colors early. Karen knows what white means, and black, and brown. Karen knows what red looks like, bubbling out of the holes of a body lying on the ground. So much going on, right? This next poem is also a poem in parts, and it's a little closer to home, though could be dedicated to any Black man anywhere in this country at this time. This is a poem in parts for Elijah McClain. 1. The violin is not a simple instrument. It is maple and spruce and more. 70 pieces, a body, a soul, a neck. 2. Elijah was not a simple man. He was Black and kind and more. Many pieces, a body, a soul, a neck. 3. Carotid holds compress the arteries in the neck, resulting in unconsciousness. 4. Research shows violinists have faster cognitive processing speeds than the average person. Maybe this is why in that moment Elijah tried reason, why he tried humanity, why he tried compassion, why he tried love, why he tried apologizing. 5. Maybe Elijah was trying to string his words into a bow. Maybe he thought he could slide that bow across the F-holes of the pigs' ears. Maybe he believed their hearts were capable of resounding music. Maybe he thought for a second that the cops would do their job and police the crime of their gross imaginations. My last poem, I thank you all for listening and for being there with me as we do this. You know, it's hard to be a poet in these times where audience interaction and communication, in my opinion, is the goal and the reach of poetry. But hopefully this has impacted you some way, made you feel a certain way, maybe uncomfortable, maybe something else. But as we come together to do this work together, it's important that we consider how and who and why, right? So thank you so much again for having me. This last poem is sort of a play on a cliche of us coming to the table. It's simply called The Table. Come, all of you, and gather around the table. Bring with you the heavy luggage society has unfairly packed for you, the bags overflowing with barriers you have somehow ingeniously figured out how to navigate. Or if your bags are a bit less heavy or are filled to the brim with privilege passed down like an heirloom, bring them too. Do not fret if you feel your cup is empty or if your china is encrusted with gold, for today we'll treat this table as an equalizer. Today, honest conversation and selfless action will be the food that nourishes us. Before we sit, let us pass our stories around like bread. Take a piece for yourself, but always be conscientious. Ensure there is enough to go around, for some know there is not always enough to go around. Or maybe there's always been enough. Maybe in the back, in the rooms where the food is prepared, there is a surplus of things tucked away from the grasp and eyes of the peering. Stockpiles of things, cannily sharing a wall with moaning scarcity. Maybe the meal was designed this way, where some are intentionally invited to the helping and others intentionally left off the guest list, no seat pulled out or given up, no place setting bearing their name. And if you are not invited to the table, as you say, it is possible that you are on the menu. And those without seats, those of us tired of being consumed, have this collection of your ugly we have been saving for moments just like these. Boxes filled with old bones and new blood, attics packed with epithets and mason jars full of scars, cedar chests stacked with broken treaties and the nooses tied around our forefathers' necks. We keep under our beds the sting of your water hoses and the no dogs, Negroes, or Mexican signs that flew proudly like flags. Buried in lockboxes beneath our fruit trees is the barbed wire of your internment camps, the bars of the prisons you built salivating with us in mind. We have, next to the extra Virgin Mary candles in our closets, the gods ripped from our grandmothers, the languages you choked out of our throats. We store in file cabinets next to broken olive branches the names of family and friends deported, the names of family and friends banned, and you wonder why we grimace when we taste your apple pie. Why the sweetness you savor is too bitter for us to swallow. You wonder why we kneel when your flag is raised, why our bald fists still have to punch holes in your pretty blue sky, because we know that what the machine hasn't already swallowed, it will most definitely be coming for. Tractors with growling bellies and flesh between their teeth, this disease that runs rabid through them, this unquenchable thirst for things that are not theirs. Your tables are not new to us. These tables you made us fashion but refused us to sit at. Our hands and feet and hearts know them well. This perk of being the builder, this perk of baptizing the wood with your sweat. In your rearview mirror, you can see us coming for you. But we're not aiming for your head necessarily. We're aiming for the humanity that lives somewhere in the basement of your heart. Our very existence is ceremony. This struggle sewn into our being, this survival radiating from our resilience, this joy we make space for despite the sting. Do not be surprised if we ask why the invitation was late. If we show you we built a table of our own, one we fashioned out of necessity when we realized yours wasn't large enough to hold us. Do not be surprised if we hand you a wrecking ball before we do our voice. If we ask you to dismantle the comfortable place you sit at as we watch. And then, when you are finished, pass the wrecking ball to us. We too will break down the silos we have built. Then, when we are both left standing in the rubble of what used to be, let us weigh our pieces until the scales balanced. For it is not enough to merely have a seat at the table. One must be the designer of it. So let us destroy to rebuild anew. Let us unpack our bags, lend each other our ears, and gift each other our hearts for listening and loving. Our foundations to understanding and conflict does not have to be combat. Conflict can be a supple garden that things grow in. So let's grow things together. Let us sit at a new inclusive table, pass our stories around like bread, eat, be fed, be healthy, be valued, and truly be heard. Thank you all so much for having me. I appreciate it.